Welcome back. We are still on the Polity reaching live from Abuja, the nation's capital. And our breaking news from INEC Nigeria, gunmen attacked the residence of Electoral Commissioner in Kogi State. And attached is a picture of what is going on in the early hours of today. That's a Friday, 1st December. According to the statement, around 3:30 a.m., gunmen attacked the residence of the resident Electoral Commissioner REC in Lokoja, Kogi State. The armed men engaged security personnel in a gun battle for over 30 minutes until reinforcements arrived. That's according to INEC. And now they've gone further to say, while no lives were lost, property was destroyed in the ensuing gun battle. A team of combined security personnel have been deployed to protect the residents. This incident occurred a day after a mob besieged the state office in Kogi State, and then they've called for a thorough investigation and enhanced security protection for personnel and assets in Kogi State. Well, we will be analyzing these and, of course, most of the recent happenings in the polity. And joining us now is none other than Nsikkak, Fyneface, a public affairs analyst. Good afternoon.
Yeah, merci.
How are you? I don't know why I've been particular about your KAFTAN.
My mom is actually Igbo. So,
oh, okay,
yeah,
all right. So
I'm partly, partly an Igbo man.
All right, that's nice. Let's get into it. We have limited time. I'd like to take the first story from the Nigerian Tribune this today, Friday, December 1st. One of the stories there says 80% surge in food importation alarming. That's coming from the federal government. Why would we want that? If the federal government is saying it's alarming, then what should the layman or citizens of Nigeria say?
Well, it basically goes to show the particular position where we as a nation, like I've always said, you can't really pinpoint one sector that is working effectively, I mean, in Nigeria as at today. And you begin to wonder as well, why has it become impossible for us to also be able to maybe export a few produce out of Nigeria? I mean, look at the issue of insecurity, for instance. Part of the northern states, farmers have been unable to access their farmlands because of bandits. I saw a report the other day, some were kidnapped because they couldn't pay bandits. I mean, I've heard reports of farmers having to pay to access their farmlands in their own city. So I mean, if you put these things together, it goes to show that there's a whole lot of work that is to be done. But like I usually say, everything is centered around fixing the issue of insecurity. I mean, food produce can't even go around the nation as well. So it just goes to show where we are. If the government itself is now complaining about 80%, then what can the common Nigerian do? What can those who basically can't even afford some of these things do? So I think it's a wake-up call for us as a nation. Sometimes it's as if we're just trying to deceive ourselves. Like, you know, when you know you're not making it, it's like you're in school. You know you've been failing your exams, but you're pretending that you're a brilliant student. Yeah, that's what it looks like now, with due respect. We know the nation is actually not maybe on the path of progress. Certain things are basically not working, but we keep on telling ourselves stories, you know, trying to make it look like we're making progress. So until we sit down and go back to the drawing board and begin to solve some of the pressing issues like insecurity, I believe we'll keep on saying these things, because Messi, even investors are leaving. No one would want to invest in a nation where, I mean, there's insecurity. So once we can fix insecurity, I believe Nigeria will begin to make progress. So yeah, these things may keep on surging high and high and high until we actually wake up and do something. And doing something begins by fixing insecurity. Okay,
now talking about doing something has to do with fixing insecurity. It takes us to the budget of President Bola, the renewed hope budget in court. Take us back to one of the papers where that's the Nation. Defense, education, health, top Tinubu's 27.5 trillion naira budget, and of course defense got 3.25 trillion naira, and then education got 2.18 trillion naira. Do you think this is enough to actually fix what is going on?
I don't have issues with these figures you're quoting. I don't have issues. Look, this budget usually look very nice on paper. I mean, you could just feel happy reading through, and during the presentation you'd feel happy, like, okay, it's gonna work. But then I'll take your mind back to 2023 when President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2023 budget. It was 21.83 trillion. It was said to be the largest budget in the history of Nigeria. That budget actually focused on facilitating microeconomics, stability, human capital development, food security, to boost manufacturing performance. But then, where are we today? How did the common Nigerian feel the impact of the 2023 budget? And then President Tinubu is now here, 27.5 trillion. And like you said, he's talking about focusing on national defense, internal security, local job creations, macroeconomic stability, investment environment. Stories, they sound nice. But then, judging from the previous years, I'm using 2023 for instance, where are we today? So they look very nice on paper. I mean, they are drafted by people. I mean, people who sometimes, look, sometimes those who even come to tell you about these budgets don't really have an idea of it. They look nice on paper, they sound nice, but then how is it going to impact the life of poor Nigerians? Can the common man in the streets benefit from this? You're talking about national security. We've invested a lot in security. I mean, from the moment President Buhari came in, 8 years now, so much has been put in, but we are still battling insecurity. And he's also coming to say, look, I'm focusing on security as well, trying to fix it. That means more monies will be pumped in. What's been the result? I mean, you can't keep investing in something if you're not getting reward. So I feel like, yeah, we should move beyond just saying these things. We should, how are we going to implement it? And then in implementing this budget, there must be transparency. So who's going to check these things? Who's going to follow the process? Who's going to ensure that the common Nigerian can benefit? So these are, I don't have a problem with budget. I mean, it sounds nice, 27.5 trillion, perfect. But then implementation has always been the problem. And then how is it going to positively impact the lives of poor Nigerians?
Because you already took the words out of my mind, my mouth rather, because I was going to say, does this actually reflect on what comes on the layman? Because some persons have highlighted that it's officially 7 months or 8 months since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu became the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we've seen the removal of fuel subsidy, we've seen surge in food prices, we've seen inflation, we've seen Naira. Naira is going to be at 750 naira per dollar on that level. Then we're talking about 778 point something per barrel of oil and all of that. And now in all of this, that's not even the catch. Most of the revenue we will generate for 2023, perhaps we generate enough revenue. 45% of this revenue is going to debt servicing.
And then we're also borrowing as well.
Exactly. In fact, a day before the budget was presented before the National Assembly, the President had pushed forward a loan this thing for National Assembly, and we're talking about now our loan, we're going to about 94 point something trillion naira, which is like over 20 million increase from. If we're saying President Buhari, that's the former president, did 70 trillion, I beg your pardon, and then in just 7 months we've done 20 trillion. What is the hope we have for the next 4 years? Well,
I think it just goes to show exactly where we are. One of the things that actually caught my attention in the budget was the issue of student loans, which was actually, I saw 700 billion. If they can properly implement the student loans, I'm sure it's going to possibly help those, middle-class Nigerians and all that. But then, you know how these things work. I spoke about accountability, I spoke about implementation, and I spoke about transparency. I also saw 534 billion social development and poverty reduction. How do you intend to reduce poverty? I mean, some people call Nigeria the poverty headquarters of the world, which shouldn't be. How do you explain to me that a major oil-producing nation is now being seen as the poverty? So it shows that Mercy will lack the know-how. Look, you may be rich, but if you lack the know-how to manage wealth, you become broke. And that's what's happening to us now. So I feel like it's a wake-up call for everyone. If you're in governance, if you're leading, I think you need, you don't just need, that's why I usually have issues with some appointments, like when ministers were being appointed. I said, look, it's looking like they are repaying people for working during the elections, not based on their intellectual ability, not based on their track record. And where we find ourselves today as a nation, look, we need help. We need people that will be able to properly manage our resources, properly implement the budget, and ensure that, I mean, they set us on the right path. But from the way things are going, considering the caliber of people that were appointed and people occupying certain offices, I'm sorry, it just sometimes it just feels like the future basically looks bleak. Because I mean, you just spoke about borrowing. Look at our debt profile, for instance. How long are we going to continue this way? What exactly are we generating as a nation? We are selling oil, but it's not, we are not, Nigerians are not feeling the impact. I mean, go through the streets, you wonder if some Nigerians are Nigerians living in Nigeria. We have Nigerians living in IDP camps and all that. So I think there's a lot of work to be done beyond just saying, okay, this is the budget, so we are doing this. Implementation, transparency. There should be a sort of briefing, maybe quarterly, for Nigerians to understand how well you look. The funds you're talking about for the budget, it doesn't belong to the president. It doesn't belong to APC. It belongs to Nigerians. Even the money you're borrowing. So Nigerians should know exactly how you're spending this money. They should know exactly how you're following the process. So I believe there should be a kind of briefing, maybe quarterly, so Nigerians can have a clear understanding. If you ask me now about the 2023 budget, I know nothing. There's nothing I can say about it because Nigerians were not carried along. I mean, this is our country. We are all Nigerians. So everyone should know. So for me, the budget sounds nice, looks good on paper, but it should be properly implemented.
Speaking about being accountable, the National Assembly leadership have expressed their worry over high debt burden. That's according to one of the papers yesterday. And they still went forward to say Nigerians are facing hard times. Then they said Tinubu needs security, employment, or of course others as part of 2024 budget priority areas. So I'm going to ask you two questions. One is next year's budget is deceitful. That's coming from PDP. Do you agree with that? What
else should you expect from the PDP? I mean, they've been, I wouldn't call them the opposition because it's been like they've been sleeping. Yeah, because why am I saying that? If you consider what the APC did to the PDP from 2012, I mean, remember the protest, the fuel subsidy protest? Yes. It was engineered by the key players in the APC. So yeah, I mean, so if you check the kind of opposition the APC gave the PDP from 2012 to build up of the 2015 elections, and they lost and all that, I mean, you would try to understand what it means to be an opposition. Yeah, some people may say some of the things they said was based on propaganda, yes, but for the PDP, I feel like they've been sleeping. If you're actually working for the interest of Nigerians, if you're trying to hold APC accountable for Nigerians, not for yourself, you would do better. So when I saw their statement yesterday, I just knew it was one of those things. They are just trying to say something. But we want people, we want parties that will be able to really hold the ruling party accountable. But so far, I don't think the PDP, I don't think they've lived up to expectations. So whatever they had to say, for me, okay, what impact is it going to have? Okay,
speaking about living up to expectation, you can see me smiling, of course, because a few weeks back, Atiku Abubakar, that's a presidential candidate for the past election, came out to say, oh, we are not in a totalitarianism system of government. So he was saying that most of these parties, I beg your pardon, should merge and form a party. Do you think that is actually going to work right now? Because we had the guest this morning that said it looks like we're in a civil rule right now, that whatever the president says just goes through, and then he said it looks like this said National Assembly is going to be worse off than the 9th Assembly. Do you agree with all of this?
To merge is not bad. I mean, that's how APC came into power. We had ABGA involved, we had AC, we had ACN, and a few other parties. They came together and gave the APC. So it's not bad, but what's the, like I've always said, what's the intention of the merger? Are you merging just because someone wants to be in power, someone wants to go down in the annals of Nigeria as being the president, or are you actually merging together? I mean, we've seen how it's been with the APC. They merged together. Nigerians actually thought that there was a plan. They came in 8 years gone. Mercy, nothing. In fact, they took us backwards, according to some Nigerians. Some Nigerians will say they took us back to the 80s. I mean, it looks that way. So what's your intention? What's your plan for merging? Are you just merging so that someone can emerge and say, okay, I was once the president? Or Are you merging because you genuinely think about Nigerians, because you genuinely feel for what Nigerians are going through? I mean, look at leadership today. It's looking like we have people who don't have empathy for Nigerians. What's democracy? Government for the people, by the people, and for the people. So if the people are not feeling it, then something is wrong, and that's where we are today. So I don't have a problem with maybe Labour Party, PDP, ADC coming together, but what's the plan? Is it to rescue Nigeria and Nigerians, or someone is just desperate to be in power? Because what we see in this part of the world looks more like people are just desperate for power. When they get in there, they start telling you, oh, when we came in, we met this, the country was in shambles, the finances, you know. So we don't want that. We want people that are actually coming in to save Nigerians and Nigeria.
Okay, in all of this, I'm going to talk about three things together. First, I'll talk about the Edo PDP gubernatorial, let's say governorship primary election. Then I'm going to talk about Ondo State, where they said the president interfered with what is going on in Ondo State. Then I'll move to Kano. For Edo State, there's been a back and forth between the governor and his deputy, where they've said the governor is not backing the deputy governor. And it looks like the replica is happening in Ondo State. Are we looking at facing the issues of deputy governor and governors square on and just looking for a lasting solution to all of this problem? Because, okay, the deputy governor of Edo State has come out fully to say, oh, he's contesting for governorship. And then the governor has equally come out to say, oh, if you want to, go ahead. Let's see what comes out of the primary. But then in Ondo State, we do not even know where the governor is as of now. Rumor has it that the governor's wife and his son are the ones in charge of the state as it is, even though the House of Assembly have withdrawn their lawsuit against the deputy governor. Now he was able to preside over their meeting yesterday. But that's on one hand. Now let's take it to Kano, where there's still the back and forth between the court and the parties, the NNPP, the certified true copy issues and all of that. In all of this, I'd like you to take it probably in one breath. If not possible, you can analyze it. But then,
well, in Edo State, I think it's just they just have a deputy governor who has ambition. And if you follow politics in Nigeria, you could rarely point out where the deputy governor came to become the governor. Yeah, it's always hard. So I mean, you saw that play out in Kogi State recently. The deputy was trying to make some moves initially, and he was asked to just step aside, and you saw how it played out. So I think the Edo State deputy governor is just trying to be ambitious. He's trying to show that, okay, and for me, somehow they've had issues, him and the governor. There were a lot of issues going on and all that. So I think maybe he may not necessarily have the blessing of the governor. It's not his fault, it's not the governor's fault, but it's been a trend in Nigeria. I mean, you may find it hard to point a state where the deputy got to become governor after, you know, the tenure of the governor elapsed. So for me, it's nothing new. It just goes to show how maybe some governors prefer to bring someone else to take over from them instead of someone who has been with them. I mean, it just goes to show, I think it's a matter of trust. Someone.
So are you saying they don't trust who what they're running with? Because what I would like you to know, the major role of the deputy governor is probably for the fact that, oh, this person is from the south part of the state and this person is from another region in the state. And of course, if you are from another region of the state, your input too matters.
No, sometimes the deputy was not even chosen by the governor.
By the governor.
It was by the party. So
okay.
It means the person may also not be his loyalist.
Okay.
These people want their loyalty, so that when they step aside, they have someone they can say, okay, do this, and that's why you see there's lack of development.
But whether you like it or not, you know that should, in case anything happens to the governor, the deputy governor comes in. Of
course, but then when you find yourself that nothing is happening and his tenure elapses, he has to go. He wants a loyalist who will be able to just step into his shoes and continue. And you know, it's also about interest. I could rule a state and I step aside and I still want to gain some level of control in that state. So that's why you see sometimes most governors are not comfortable, because their running mate, the deputy, wasn't picked by them. It was a party thing, and the deputy sometimes may not be loyal to the governor. I mean, he could be his deputy, but there's no loyalty. I've seen that play out over, in fact, in my state at a time when Godswill Akpabio was governor. I saw something like that as well. So for me, it's the trend in Nigeria. It's hard to see a deputy who would succeed the governor. It's hard. So it's just a normal thing. On those states, rumor actually has it that the present governor, like you said, they don't really know much about his whereabouts and all that. But I think the constitution actually has provision for these things. If the main man isn't okay, you could bring in the second man. Maybe he could act in, he could serve in an acting position or take over. I mean, we saw that play out in the days when Goodluck Jonathan was vice president and all that. So I think sometimes we like arguing about certain things that provisions have been made for in the Constitution.
In this case, it's not just about provision in the Constitution, because the House of Rep members, they actually charged them to court where the president had to come in, and then there were rumors that he was asked to resign, tender a letter, but then at the end of the day, we don't know how they, of course, they did the party thing and then sorted it out. But in this case, should it have to be that the president is the one resolving all?
Mercy, that's why I said.
We know we don't.
That's why I said there's a provision of that in the Constitution. Why don't you bring the Constitution? What does it say here, and just adhere to it? I see no reason why the president will have to step in. Yeah, they may feel like it's an APC state and all that, fine. But then, what does the Constitution say? If the governor actually has a few issues, maybe related to health or whatever, he should step aside. Let the deputy take over. What's in the Constitution? That's what we should focus on. So, the president coming in, trying to, I just feel like those were actually unnecessary. I mean, we have a Constitution. We should be, ruled. We should be loyal to our Constitution. So I think we are just trying to play politics. And for me, it boils down back to what I said about deputy governors being chosen by the party.
Okay.
So maybe certain elements in the party structure actually feels like, look, I wasn't part of the people who picked this guy, so he can't lead the state. So I think it's just a power play issue. If we were sometimes serious as a people, just open the Constitution. What does it say? Read it out. If it says bring in the man, bring him in. It's as simple as that. It's actually for the growth of the state, not for the party, not for the individual. But when we focus on these things, it goes to show that certain people are desperate for power. And when you have leaders that are actually more desperate for power than being focused on serving the people, then that's why we suffer lack of development. So for me, the issue in Ondo State is simple. What does the Constitution say? Bring out the Constitution, read it out, and then do what is right. It's as simple as that. We don't even need the president to step in. Just bring the Constitution. What does it say? And then do what is right.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Kano now for the CTC. What's your general overview on what has happened? Well,
I feel like there's a kind of back and forth and all that concerning the CTC and all that, and it goes to show maybe there could be some loopholes somewhere. I mean, INEC.
But do you actually believe the clerical error excuse? Well, and what baffles me in all of this is a senior advocate of Nigeria actually came out to say clerical error is too huge for you to just say, oh, let's return it back to the court and then let them just fix it. It's too much for that.
I mean, recently we've seen some kind of reports coming from the court, and some Nigerians actually feel like maybe somehow we're actually ridiculing the judiciary, and somehow I tend to believe in, maybe I kind of feel that way as well. You see very hilarious things happening and all that, and for some of us, it looks more like the last election has actually exposed a lot of people. And if we continue this way, Mercy, where people just do things to favor themselves, and then when people try to explore the loophole, they try to cover their tracks, because that's what it's looking like now. But let the right thing be done. That's what Nigerians want, because Kano is a sensitive state. It's one of the most populated states in Nigeria. We have to tread carefully. If there are issues that pertains to elections and all that, I believe that's why we have the court. Proper investigation should be carried out, and then whoever won the elections should remain as the person who won the elections. But when we try to bring in certain issues like the CTC issue and things like that, we are just trying to hit up the polity, and that it may not really favor the people trying to do this thing. So for me, I think it's a wake-up call for us as a nation to do the right thing. Elections, actually, we had elections this year, and people came out to vote. If you now try to maybe, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but if you try to play with the vote of the people, you're basically denying the people of their choice, and that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look, in a typical democratic system, the people have the power. They have the power. But if the people now came out to show their power, and you now decide to deprive them of what of their will and who they voted for, I believe it's not right. And that's why, for me, part of the reason why our country is not developed is some of these things. Look, some people are prepared for leadership, and some people are not prepared. A man who comes in and wins an election, it shows that maybe he was able to motivate the people, he was able to sell his idea to the people, and the people actually got to believe in him and his plans. But a man who did nothing, and then somehow you just bring him up and he has no plan. Message is a quote that says, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So a politician who didn't plan for a particular office, he was just around, moving around. In fact, you see some of their campaigns, they say nothing. They have nothing to say to the people. There's no product to sell. It's like I'm a marketer. I'm going to market something and I can't market nothing. That's what you see from some politicians. So all I'm saying is this: if the people actually came out en masse to cast their vote for a particular candidate, I feel like we should just let these things be. Look, power shouldn't be by force. You can't force someone on the people. Let the will of the people count. And that's what Nigerians want. I mean, if you look through the last elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and one other state, it was said that the turnout was low. Why? Because Nigerians are beginning to lose interest in the process. So, for me, some of us are keenly watching how things are going to play out in Kano. This will also send a message to Nigerians. You may just discover that maybe the next elections, you may not even see Nigerians come out to vote, because people are now beginning to feel like our vote doesn't count. So I think it's a call for us to get it right, to do the right thing in order to save our nation. So that's what I think. The issue in Kano, the whole back and forth and all that, fine, but then let's do what is right. Okay.
All right, in 1 minute, something that I've always seen since President Tinubu came on board is him trying to find investors to come invest in Nigeria, I beg your pardon. Meanwhile, we have investors currently in Nigeria leaving. What do you think needs to be done differently in 1 minute?
The only thing we need to do differently is fix the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. I spoke about that. Look, nobody's going to come and invest billions in a nation where bandits are destroying, citizens can move freely and all that. I spoke about it here, the issue of insecurity. If we cannot fix it, investors will not come. We will not make progress. If we can't fix insecurity, the whole budget we are talking about is just like child's play. So the starting point is insecurity. I know it's not easy. I know it's a serious issue, it's a major task and all that, and it's something that is being felt in some parts of the world, fine, but we can fix it. We are the giant of Africa. We have one of the most effective military in Africa after the likes of Egypt and Tunisia and all that. So fix insecurity. If our troops go to Africa and they restore peace in other African countries, so what's the big deal about restoring peace in Nigeria? So if you want investors, I feel like Mr. President should even stop traveling to look for investors. No, fix insecurity and investors will come to look for you to invest in Nigeria. Okay, all right, thank you very much, Fyneface and Nsikkak. It's been a great one with you on the show today. All right, our viewers at home, this is where we wrap it up for the Polity today. And of course, this week, thank you for staying tuned with us, and thank you to our producers, and of course to everyone that has made sure this show is a success this week from Monday to Friday. I remain Babajide. See you same time, same station next week. Bye.